Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to SPARTA's Mini Conference, Game Changers in Data Science and Analytics, Women Leaders for a Smarter Philippines. We will start exactly at 2:30 p.m. But before everything else, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our SPARTA partners who have joined us in today's event. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, we would like to acknowledge the presence of our partners who have joined us in our today's event. I would like to acknowledge the city of Iloilo, Butuan, Kawayan, and Valencia City. I would also like to acknowledge our SUCs, Isabela State University, Iloilo Science and Technology University, Father Saturnino Orios University, University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines, and Central Mindanao University. Also, I would like to acknowledge our partner organizations, Presidential Communications Operations Office, Freedom of Information, DOST Caraga Region, and the Contact Center Association of the Philippines. We'd also like to acknowledge the presence of our prospective partners. We have Spring Rain Global, STI Education Services Incorporated, Department of Health, Cancer Care Registry Philippines Foundation Incorporated, and Cancer Care Registry and Research Foundation Incorporated. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, good afternoon. This SPARTA Mini Conference, Game Changers in Data Science and Analytics, Women Leaders for Smarter Philippines will be starting in a few minutes. Thank you. While our speakers prepare themselves and everyone is settling down, I would like to gently remind everyone about the house rules for today's event. First, kindly mute your audio and close your video. There will be an opportunity at the end of today's event to turn on your videos for the group photo. Second, please put your questions or issues that you want to acknowledge in our comment section and kindly wait for the host to acknowledge your concern. And lastly, please accomplish the post-event evaluation form in the link that will be sent in the comment near the end of the program. This is for our Google Meet participants and Facebook Live audiences. Thank you and see you in 2:30 p.m. Okay, so we are now ready. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. We are both live via Google Meet and Facebook. To begin with, let us put ourselves in the holy presence of our Lord through a prayer led by Miss Sharon Rose Estrella.
Dear God, thank you for the blessings you have bestowed upon us. We are truly grateful for them. Thank you for allowing us today to meet and spare our knowledge and time with one another in this mini conference. May you extend your divine wisdom to our speakers as they would be able to impart effectively their God given knowledge to all of us. May they be blessed as they continue to bring their expertise to the people who needed them. Bless the participants as well so that they would be able to glean to the vital information from this activity. May you bestow your blessings after this conference so that we may go out and spread what we learned in a spirit of your love and generosity. May this event glorify your name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Project Sparta recognizes the roles and contributions of women in our society. In fact, 47% of our enrollees are women. This is why we have decided to conduct this mini conference to highlight the current state of women in technology, particularly in the fields of data science and analytics. We want to show the importance of a gender inclusive society, and we believe that it all starts with an awareness brought by events such as this. We hope that this conference will not only inform you, but instill impactful insights that you can use to create lasting contributions to our society. And now, to give us the opening remarks, let us all welcome the Sparta Project Lead and Vice President of the Development Academy of the Philippines, Dr. Alan Escajes. Sir?
Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. First of all, I'd like to greet everyone. Happy National Women's Month. And the theme for this 2021 celebration is We Make Change Work for Women. And this is very timely given our activity this afternoon. In behalf of our President, Attorney Engelbert Caronan Jr., the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Development Academy of the Philippines, I'd like to read his opening remarks for each and everyone. Magandang hapon. I would like to acknowledge our partners, the DOST, the Shared Analytics Association of the Philippines, Force Bank, our SPARTA project team, the participants who have dedicated their time in joining us for today's mini conference. Maraming salamat sa pagbibigay oras sa Project Sparta. I have always had the utmost confidence in women's skills and capabilities. I believe in their abilities to succeed in whatever path that they may want to pursue. This is because women are no longer confined to the corners of our homes. They continue to push boundaries and break through barriers of their initial roles as mga ilaw ng mga tahanan. From being the light of our homes, women are now mga ilaw na gumagabay tungo sa kaunlaran ng ating mahal na bayan and are taking great strides in ensuring the development of our nation. Today, I have the greatest pleasure and honor in welcoming 4 exceptional women. Ms. Lisa Garcia from the Foundation for Media Alternatives, who advocates democratization and popular empowerment. Ms. Cara Wilson of For the Women Foundation, who empowers Filipinas to upskill themselves into better tech careers and better lives. And Ms. Michelle Alarcon, a force to be reckoned with in the business world. I would also like to mention the women behind the Sparta project team who continue to tirelessly in order to ensure that our project is running smoothly. As a matter of fact,
Hello, Sir Alan. Sir Alan, are you there? Okay, we apologize everyone as we are currently having some technical issues. Sir, are you there? Are you there? Yes. Sir Alan will be back in a while. So while waiting for him, We would like to acknowledge again the presence of our Sparta partners who have joined with us in today's event, and we also would like to tell everyone the scholarship applications are still ongoing. So for those who are interested in upskilling and earning free certificates in data science and analytics, you may still apply for our scholarship program. Thank you. Sir Alan, are you there?
Yes,
Sir?
RB.
Yes, sir.
So let me just, can you hear me now, RB?
Yes, sir. We can hear you clearly.
Okay. As the president said, he acknowledges the female Spartans who continue nearly half, constitute more than half of the enrollees of our enrollment. And he commends you for taking part in furthering the data science and analytics environment in the Philippines. Your participation reinforces our vision to increase women's involvement in science and technology. I am sure he said that our shared goal of a smarter Philippines will be achieved with the skills and expertise that you have learned and continue to learn from Sparta. With this, I confidently say that the future is really female. I strongly believe that a smarter Philippines is possible if all the members of our society are given equal opportunities. So let us continue celebrating the success of women and push for their empowerment dahil ang mga kababaihan ang isa sa mga pag-asa ng ating bayan. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you, Dr. Cajes, for the warm welcome. It is really important not to only recognize women's success and contributions, but also to continue pushing for their empowerment. As you have pointed out, women are not only mga ilaw ng ating mga tahanan, but they are also mga ilaw na gumagabay tungo sa kaunlaran ng ating mahal na bayan. They are indeed lighting the path towards the growth and development of our nation. And now to introduce the three female trailblazers who continue to create lasting impacts in our society, let us welcome Miss Eleanor T. Santos. Ma'am?
Thank you, RV. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this event, Game Changers in Data Science and Analytics, Women Leaders for a Smarter Philippines. I'm Eleanor Santos of the Development Academy of the Philippines Council of Fellows, and I will be your moderator for this event. Project Sparta is celebrating Women's Month, and part of our campaign to raise awareness about this cause is highlighting women's extraordinary contributions in data science and analytics, or DSA. For this event, we are very honored to feature three amazing, prominent women who have made great strides in DSA. And they say that the future is really female as women are taking a lot of interest and becoming more active in society, especially in science and technology. Let us not forget their contributions as we join the celebration of their work and empowerment. And so we have over 200 attendees in this platform. We have students and scholars, our partners and our future partners and collaborators. And welcome everyone. And I can't wait to have you listen to the insights of all our speakers who all have extensive expertise and experience in this industry. Our first speaker is Ms. Liza S. Garcia. She is the Executive Director of the Foundation for Media Alternatives, or FMA. It is an NGO that advances human rights perspectives and policy advocacy around the internet, its governance, communities, and resources. Her work and interests are in the field of gender and ICT, and she is active in internet governance. She has an undergraduate degree in sociology from the University of the Philippines, master's degrees in international relations from the Kiev State University, and in women and development studies from the University of the Philippines. Ms. Liza is currently a member of the board of the Center for Migrant Advocacy, a Philippine based NGO working for the rights of all migrants and members of their families. She's co moderator of the Dynamic Coalition on Gender at the Internet Governance Forum and is also a member of the editorial board of the Good ID, a platform that champions privacy and security and believes in digital dignity, data protection, human centered technologies, and quality identification programs. To present her topic on gender makeup in technology and data science and analytics workforce, friends, partners, scholars, I now present you Ms. Lisa Garcia, Executive Director, Foundation for Media Alternatives. Ms. Lisa, good afternoon.
Yes, thanks, Eleanor. Good afternoon, everyone. So if I can just request that my slides be uploaded already. So while we're waiting for that, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this mini conference for the invitation to speak on the topic of gender makeup in technology and data science and analytics workforce. Although what I will be presenting would be more general in nature, not just on technology, but on STEM itself, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics as well, because those are the data that we have. When it comes to data, sometimes there is a dearth of data on what we really need. As we continue to celebrate Women's Month, it's only apt, I think, that we look into the status of women, also, especially those in science and technology, in order for us to understand what this is all about, where we are. But what I would like to say is that we have to continue celebrating women, not only during Women's Month, but all throughout the year. So anyway, next slide, please. So for this presentation, I will be talking to you about the gender gap in, in STEM. So this would be about the underrepresentation of women in STEM. Then I'll proceed to the factors that enable and hinder the entry, continuation, and retention of women in STEM, the opportunities that are available to young girls and to women, and lastly, promoting women's agenda in STEM. So next, please. Let me start by giving you a snapshot of where we are when it comes to um, gender equality. Now, in 2020, the Philippines ranked number 16 in 156 countries in the Global Gender Gap Report. Now, this report measures the progress of countries in terms of four dimensions. So it's here, the economic participation and opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, and political empowerment. So the index is designed to measure gender-based gaps in terms of access to resources and opportunities that are available in the countries. So as you can see here, the Philippines remains strong in three of the four dimensions, except for the political empowerment. And it is one of the countries actually where there are more women in terms of senior and leadership roles, as well as in professional and technical professions. So it's an achievement of the country. So next, please. So why did I start talking about gender equality? Because when we talk about gender equality, we also have to, we also have to relate this to the sciences, because both are vital to for us to achieve the sustainable development goals. And we know that recently there's been a lot done to inspire women to study and to work in the technical and science field. However, according to researches, a lot of women still continue to be excluded from participating fully in different spheres. If we look at the statistics that are available, according to UNESCO, globally, women represent less than 30% of researchers in science, tech, and innovation. But this is, of course, is already old data. New data suggests that this is about 40%. In the same year, about 2014, um, when you talk about East Asia, 23.4% of the researchers are women. But in our own region, in Cambodia, for instance, 20.7% of science researchers are women, 29.6 in Singapore, 49.9 in Malaysia, and 52.3 in the Philippines are female. So that's a high number, actually, for the Philippines. Next, please. Next slide, please. A much later study, 2019, have, before that, has also shown that um, countries like Singapore and Vietnam, which have low shares of women in technology majors, are also have also high shares of women working in technology, especially Singapore, which has 41%. The Philippines and Thailand have high shares of women in as technology graduates, and Thailand also has one of the highest percentages of women in the technology workforce, while Indonesia has a low share of women at technology companies. Next, please. Um, the next data is more US centric. This is data from the US. In 2014, women make up only 26% of data professionals, but and during that time as well, women held only 25% of chief data officer positions. A later report, however, in 2019 suggests that uh, on the average, 31% of women are in data-related positions, although this number falls when you consider the women in senior roles. Next, please. If we look at the IT companies, the big tech companies, and see how they are addressing gender equality at work in terms of workforce, leadership, and women in technology, you will see here that it's only Netflix and Amazon who have uh, almost equal number of women in the workforce with their male counterparts. However, when you talk about women in leadership, it's only Netflix that has a high rate. So Amazon lags behind. And then also, if you compare the six companies, again, it is Netflix with uh, a high percentage of women working in tech positions. So this speaks much about the tech companies that we have, no? Okay, next, please. Next slide, please. The other challenge or the gap that we have to take a look at is education. Of course, it was mentioned that in the Philippines, students pursuing uh, education in science and technology is high. In Southeast Asia, it is 39% are women who are pursuing tech education. But in the Philippines, um, yeah, this is an old statistics actually. Women make up 43% of STEM enrollments according to data from SHED, and mostly they are in non-engineering or non-IT fields because we're not that, the numbers are not that high when it comes to uh, number of engineering students. So next, please. Another thing that has to be considered when looking at the gender makeup in technology is the culture, the workplace culture, because this is how women might fare or survive in the workplace. So in the US, there was a survey conducted by Pew Research in 2017, and they found out that half or 50% of women said that they have experienced gender discrimination as compared to men. And the numbers were higher with women who have postgraduate degrees, those who are working in computer jobs or in male dominated workplace. So according to the women who were surveyed, they said that they still have to work a lot to prove themselves in the workplace, in their job that they do. In the Philippines, however, next slide, please. Um, in the Philippines, there was a survey that was, there was a study that was conducted in 2019. It was a baseline study, and they found out that women are generally satisfied in their jobs in terms of their personal development and feeling valued in their workplace. At the same time, the, the baseline study found out that 72% think that women are equally compensated for the same level of work and efforts as their male counterparts, while 66% believe that there are enough women in leadership roles, and that and almost 8 in 10 think that companies take adequate steps to ensure that both men and women are given the same professional opportunities. However, if you go to the last bullet, it is quite disconcerting that 11% of the women surveyed also said that they have experienced sexual harassment in the workplace and they did not report it. And also, 8% who have experienced sexual discrimination at the workplace and did not report it as well. So the numbers may be small, but these are significant at the same time. So maybe we can go back to that later. So next is about the pay gap. This is another issue. Um, Again, this is in the US. A survey in 2018 said that women there receive $250 less than men when it comes to software development jobs. This is per month. And younger women, the younger the women, the smaller the pay gap. In Korea, the tech pay gap is actually high at 41%. While in the Philippines, as previously mentioned in the baseline study, although this is perception, 72% think that women are equally compensated for the same level of work and efforts as their male counterparts. So, hindi naman pala ganun masyadong problem daw. So, next please. And then we also have to consider the retention of women in their jobs. Again, according to studies, this is in the US, by the way, in the STEM sector, the quit rate for women is 41% compared to 17% in males. So males stay longer in their jobs in the in the STEM sector. The female quit rate is even higher in the technology sector. It is 56%. In 2018, the number of women who leave their jobs in the STEM industry is 53% compared to 31% of men. And in the Philippines, while we do not have numbers, uh, the baseline study that I mentioned found out that the three main reasons cited why women in the Philippines think leave their companies and the industry where they belong is that are due to number one, family related reasons, better compensation or advancement and opportunities in other companies, and also sexual discrimination and harassment. Okay, next please. Um, Next slide. We also have to consider, since we are already we have celebrated the first year of our being locked down. So we also have to discuss how the pandemic has affected women. While these figures that I'm presenting to you are based in the US, I'm sure that a lot of women in our tech industries, even women in other industries and other sectors in the labor workforce, would feel the same. In the US, for instance, 57% of those surveyed said that they have experienced burned out during the pandemic and that they are taking on extra responsibilities not just at work, but since we are a lot of us are working from home, women are always taking on additional more household work compared to men, and they're also taking care of children in the family, especially with children also doing their online studies. So yeah, next please. So after this, how do we actually explain the underrepresentation of women in the fields of STEM? Of course, there are two models here. I'm sure that you have already um, that you already know about them. One is the leaky pipeline. If you, this is a linear model actually. If you look at the trajectory of the career in STEM for women, it's like a pipeline when you start, let's say, in secondary school. Um, there might be a lot of young girls interested in STEM careers, but not all of them would enroll in college. And then there will be leaks again. Not all of them would enroll for masteral studies or PhD. And then during their careers, there are other reasons for them leaving the industry, the STEM industry. And some of the reasons for this might be family related, the pay and the promotion opportunities, discrimination at work, and lack of role models. Now, the other model that is usually used when looking at the underrepresentation of women is the vanish box model. So it just says that there are actually barriers to the advancement of women in sciences. So it might be institutional, it might be on a personal basis. At the same time, um, those women who are marginalized and underutilized, they become a reserve army of the unemployed and underemployed uh, female scientists. But with the emergence of economic and social conditions, so you have opportunities are being created. So there are new jobs being created, and this is where you find again the women who have left the industry prior. So next, please. Again, so there are this slide tells us of the factors that enable and hinder the entry, the continuation, and retention of women in the fields of STEM. So according to the baseline study conducted in the Philippines, having supported, having supportive parents and family members would, uh, encourage a young girl to pursue a career in STEM. If you're already working and you have a family, having a supportive husband would be very much helpful. Having supportive co-workers and managers in the industry would be a factor for women to stay. Um, and also, if you're really interested in the job that you're doing, you have a personal interest and your skills are matched to it, then you stay. Um, there should also be gender sensitive company policies and programs in place. This would include policies relating to sexual harassment, violence, having lactating rooms in the office. So things that are allowing women to work from home. So these are very supportive of uh, women, and with this they can stay in their careers. So according to the baseline report as well, if women are portrayed positively in media, then a lot of young girls are encouraged to also go into the industry. However, if there are some industries which are male dominated, only the males are in the leadership and management positions, and that discourages some women from staying in the agency or in the company. Unfortunately, I can mention a few here, but I will not. Even some government agencies are male dominated, and they're supposed to be in lead, leading the tech industry in the country. Yeah, and of course, women, when once they start families, they would want to pursue uh, work and family balance, and if they can't do that, then that is a factor that hinders their continuation in the industry. Next, please. But the good news is there are a lot of opportunities for women to advance in STEM. With the fourth industrial revolution, technology plays a key role in achieving decent work and gender equality. So, according to the ILO Future of Work report, uh, there will be changes in the workplace. And this is actually the time for women to uh, transform themselves, to reskill, upskill. There are actually present a number of jobs in the STEM field are increasing, and these are jobs that pay well. In fact, in 2019, in the cybersecurity industry, there was a shortage of uh, in the workforce of about 4 million people, and half of that was in the Asia Pacific region, in our region. In Singapore, 5%, there was a 5% vacancy in technology jobs last year. So next, please. Um, Next slide, please. Again, as I was saying, in the future, women might need to upskill to in order to uh, when we transition to this more technologically advanced world that we have right now. And then the other thing is we have to mention the Gen Z women. So right now, these women are what, 21 years old or younger. These are women who were born digital. So they're digital natives, and a lot of them, actually, according to studies, um, they, a lot of them started coding between the ages of 16 to 21, and some were even started coding even younger. Even in the Philippines, you find that there are young women who started coding at very young age. And in some schools, actually, coding is part of the school curricula. So these are, in the future, we look up to these women who will be part of the um, who will be they will be the ones who will become data scientists and analysts because of the skills that they already have. And talking about data, data is important. It will play a big role. It's playing a big role now. It will play an even bigger role in the future in terms of labor, um, because data, as people have been saying, is like oil. No? If 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 you put it, if you tap it properly, harnessed and processed, then it can it will help us realize new and innovative ways of implementing tangible solutions. And today we know that data is expanding at an incredible rate, and given that there's also a big demand for positions like data scientists, data officers, uh, analysts in artificial intelligence, and etc. Other opportunities would include, there are scholarships available to to women. Sparta is one of them. And as mentioned earlier, almost half of the scholars are women. So that is good news. There are also, in startups, women are also encouraged to pitch in their proposals, and then support groups and organizations in science and technology can help women to achieve their agenda for the future. So next, please. So how do we achieve actually or promote women's agenda in STEM? So make data available on the available opportunities for women and girls so that they would be enticed to go into the field, make it fun for them. And then for the talents that we already have, we have to take care of the talents, especially the women, so we can retain them in the industry so that they do not leave the companies or, go abroad for better opportunities. We also need sex disaggregated data to inform policy. Most of the time, it's not disaggregated, no? But we need that. Gender sensitivity training in the workplace would be good so that not just so that the men as well as the women would be abreast of what the laws are to promote gender equality. So these are, trainings on what sexual harassment in the workplace means, violence against women, etc. Um, Creating a conducive environment in the workplace would be much appreciated. This would include including women in the trainings. It's easy now considering that almost everything is done online. Having, as I said earlier, having lactating rooms, having perhaps daycare rooms, allowing women to bring their children in the offices, allowing them to work from home. These are conducive environment that these are part of the conducive environment that would help uh, companies retain their women talents. And of course, as said earlier, role models and mentors are important for women. Uh, Next, please. I would be showing you some of the this photo here. Of course, this we have to pay tribute to these women who have contributed a lot to technology and the internet as we know them today. Um, from Ada Lovelace to Grace Hopper to Radio Perlman, Elizabeth Feinler, the ENIAC women coders, etc., Alan Turing, and the like. But in the Philippines as well, next please, we also have plenty of role models to look up to, and some of them are actually in this mini conference. Um, yeah, these are, these are astrophysicists turned data scientists. These are biotech engineers. These are CEOs of tech companies. These are doctors. These are mathematicians who we can look up to. And I hope that we can do actually a history of our women in the STEM industry or in the tech industry in particular, so that they may be given the due recognition, and so that our young generation would know who they are. So, yeah, to end, well, according to the World Economic Gender Gap Report, it will take another 99 more years before we can achieve the gender equality gap. But hopefully, with women being very active in our country, including in the fields of STEM, and with adequate support from government and industry, we may cut that the number of years before we can achieve gender equality. So yun lang po. And again, happy Women's Month. Thank you, everyone.
Marami pong salamat, Ms. Lisa Garcia. She is the Executive Director of the Foundation for Media Alternatives, or FMA. Please stay with us, ma'am, as we will have our open forum after the speakers' presentations. Speaking of which, ma'am, I saw in your presentation the picture of Dr. Reina Bel Reyes, who was supposed to be one of our speakers for this afternoon's event. Fortunately, she will be speaking at the Sparta conference at a later date. And for Dr. Reina, we celebrate as you mark another milestone in a new book about modern Pinay heroes. This is entitled Fearless Filipinas, 12 Women Who Dared to Be Different. Congratulations, and continue to inspire and empower us with your work in different fields. And we hope to see you soon online. Fortunately, we have our second speaker, and she's already with us in this platform. Our second speaker is Miss Kathleen Ramona Wilson, or Miss Cara. She's the co-founder and executive director of For the Women Foundation, or FTW. Miss Cara describes herself as an impact entrepreneur as she measures success in terms of impacts rather than profits. FTW Foundation changes lives by selecting deserving Filipinas carefully, then training them for free to career switch into junior data analyst positions. It also believes that determined women do not need charity, but instead they thrive on strong initial support to launch them into promising careers. For the women, for the win, for the world. To present her topic on equal access to opportunities in data science and analytics. Friends, partners, and colleagues, I now present to you on screen Ms. Cara Wilson, the co-founder and executive director for the Women Foundation. Ms. Cara, welcome and good afternoon. You're muted, ma'am.
Sorry. Good afternoon. Thank you now.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm very honored to be here this afternoon. I have a presentation to show you what For the Women Foundation is, and I applaud all of you for being here in this International Women's Month. We love to say at FTW Foundation that every month is Women's Month for us. And so I would just like to share what we do with all of you, and perhaps some of you would be interested in joining us in our quest to make sure that as many women, as many deserving women as possible can get the right training in order to upskill. So I will present, if you just give me a minute. Can you see my screen? Are you able to see my screen?
No, ma'am.
Yes, you can see it.
We cannot see it yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, hang on a minute. How about now? You can see?
Yeah, yeah. It's being flashed now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, FTW stands for the women, very young profit profit organization that was founded only in October of 2018. I'll give you a background of how we started this journey. I lived for 22 years of life in Italy, and when I was in Italy, I met so many smart, talented Filipino women who had some college or a college degree, and due to lack of these, they were forced to go to Italy to do domestic work. And I saw so many of them demonstrate incredible strength and resilience, specifically in the fact that they had to leave their families and take care of other families, yet they showed all the time a generosity of spirit and a real strength, fact that they were able to keep their positive attitudes going, and they are very much guarded there. Yet to really reach their full because the opportunity to domestic. I thought my was too long in the Philippines. Generations would pass that these women would send money home and try to make sure that their children got the best education possible. And then when their children would graduate, again, lack of opportunities and abroad. One day I'd like to be part of the solution. So when I came back to the Philippines, I joined an education startup, and I learned that great democrat engine this kind of solution. And I realized that what I wanted to do was to do something in the not-profit field. There were so many women who did not have the resources to be able to this kind of upskilling that the former. So as I mentioned, in the Philippines, quality is not always available to all, and it did not translate into meaningful improvements of upward mobility. Our solution is to find profiles like data science that do have this kind of upward mobility and are future resilient. And our program focuses on selecting and training particularly deserving women who really want this, and we can describe them as unstoppable, gritty career switch. And we realize that in the future we're going to be disrupted a lot by AI, but we never could imagine how much disruption would happen even during the pandemic. There have been not so many studies on the Philippines, but a lot of studies internationally that shows that women have had more job disruptions due to COVID-19. There's, of course, an increased number of unemployed people in the Philippines because of this pandemic. And we know that in more service sectors, the front line of the pandemic. So they are very much affected by what's going on in this pandemic. We also know that women take the bulk of unpaid household work. So there was a study done by Oxfam in 2017 that showed that in terms of household chores and elderly and childcare, women take up to 6 times, 2 to 4 to 6 times more than men in terms of this kind of unpaid household responsibility. So this means that they have much less left over in terms of having resources to be able to upskill and to find the best courses. So I salute programs like SPARTA that definitely is giving a lot of women this opportunity. And it's the same thing that we do at FTW as well. So our solution was to identify future resilient, high demand careers, then upskill deserving women into these jobs, and we wanted to concentrate on where women are underrepresented. I think the Philippines is a particularly great country to be a woman in this sense that most of the employers that we speak to, when we tell them that we have qualified women for these roles, they are often very open to this idea. So there is a sort of reverse bias in the Philippines in that women are very highly regarded for this sort of task, this sort of role. There is an idea that women are very meticulous and matyaga and get the job done in a very detail-oriented way. And I think that serves us well in terms of being able to consider this field as one to career switch into. So our mission at FTW is to change women's lives through intensive tech skills training to enable upward career mobility. As you all know, the jobs of tomorrow will benefit highly skilled workers much more than those that have very basic skills. McKinsey did a survey in 2020 that pinpointed data analytics jobs as one of the first to recover from the pandemic. In our batch our cohort that just graduated in November, we did not really even see a slowing down in terms of demand. In fact, our girls are already 70 to 80% placed in new jobs, and we are very happy about that. We also did our own study on how AI might disrupt the jobs of the future, and data science is one of those bright spots that keeps moving up and up and up. And that's basically because LinkedIn agrees, LinkedIn says number one emerging job in 2018. I think in this year it was number 4, but it's still very much high up there in terms of the market demand for these kinds of jobs. And that's because every organization that uses software is producing exponential amounts of data. I think there was a Harvard professor that mentioned the fact that there is probably a cure for cancer out there. It's just that we don't have enough people to find this cure because there are not enough people to analyze the data. So there is room for many programs like SPARTA, like ours, like other programs, to try to help women find these opportunities and give them this leg up that they need to join this field. Now, what the FTW solution is we give 14 weeks of free scholarship training. We give hard skills. We teach exploratory data analysis. We teach data visualization through Tableau or Power BI. We teach Python. We teach SQL. We work with other organizations like Data Ethics. Tomorrow I will be having a talk with the head of Data Ethics PH exactly on how our women actually are affected by this topic. But even more distinguishable in our program is the fact that we spend a lot of time on soft skills. Our women are mostly career switchers, so they need a lot of encouragement and community support. We have put together a very important mentorship program with senior data scientists in the sector that give one-on-one support to our scholars, and we feel that this is the perfect way of allowing them to get the confidence and the skills that they need to make this switch. One of the tools that we use in our program, we try to make sure our program is always very much applied and not theoretical. We have capstone projects. So we go to different companies, we tell them about our advocacy, and we ask them for data issues or data problems that they would like to have solved. We assign 4 to 5 of our scholars on these projects, and we assign senior data science mentors to supervise them on these projects, and they present these projects as their thesis or their last graduation demonstrations, which we do at the end of our program. Here are some examples of some of the capstone projects that we did recently. There's a good mix between those that help not-for-profits or even data for social good. We've won awards joining teams with different for example, fighting dengue with data. This joined with the Serolytics team, and they won an award from NASA that spoke to the relevance of the contributions that we made. We worked even with some not-for-profits, like of the fraud detection that we did for microfinance, which is particularly fulfilling scholars because they know that the data work that they're doing has a real social good result. And so this is what we do when we give our scholars the chance to work on these. As I mentioned earlier, and the next after me is my actually FTW's head of learning, Michelle, who is data analytics agency and is part of one of the Analytics Association of the Philippines. And we have on our team also 4 very senior data scientists from different sectors of the Philippine economy that were very much inspired by working with our scholars because they said that our scholars were particularly engaged and passionate about what they were learning, even though this meant 6 to 8 hours of online classes on a Saturday, apart from the fact that they had still their full-time jobs, because most of the women who are our scholars do not give up their full-time jobs because they cannot necessarily afford to do that. So this is our learning team that we're very proud to have worked with and continue to expand the team actually. The good news is we take data on our impact. As I mentioned earlier, what we care about is impact, not profit. We've had a total of 100 graduates. If we include our corporate partners and our corporate training, it would be even more, around 140 graduates. We have an average placement rate of 80% of our graduates. And even more encouraging, we have 138% average salary increase of our alumni. So that's more than doubling of the salaries. Most of our alumni make this switch because they would like to, of course, improve their lives with this increased earning potential. We also take data on how our alumni are doing in their new jobs, and 87.5% of them report an increase in career satisfaction, which shows us that they will be ideal employees because they are very much driven to switch into this field. We have created this brand of an unstoppable, gritty career switcher that's passionate about data science. When we interview our employers, we ask them why they prefer to hire our graduates versus other applicants. And they said that, after 14 weeks, we can't necessarily say that this is a Google level data scientist because it's not a very long program, but they do have the good hard skill basics, but we don't mind that because we can teach hard skills. But what we cannot teach in our employees is attitude. And that's what we love about the FTW graduate. And so if you are an unstoppable, gritty person that's interested in switching into this career, please get in touch with FTW Foundation because we are also looking for you. So we're very happy to be connecting with all of you. I'd like to finish my presentation by putting a face to the data because, as you know, data is not just numbers. In our case, they are people, they are women. This is one of our graduates from our second batch, and her name is Jen Marquez. She told us that when she was at UP, she had to take a job after graduation with a BPO because her father had a stroke and she had to put her brother through college. After 10 years of working in a BPO, she wanted to switch into something that was more her passion, and she wanted to do that. And she switched to a tech company and was as a marketing associate, but she couldn't quite move up the ladder because she needed the hard skills, but she didn't necessarily have the resources to do world-class training. So we took her. She said that after our program, she was able to provide not just the bare necessities for her family, but give them some comforts in life. She also learned that age wasn't a barrier. At 37, she could still pursue her dreams. Her company didn't want to lose her, although she had other job offers. They right away sent her on applied data science programs and AI-focused programs. And now she is an analyst earning 134% more than she did from before our FTW program. But what also makes me so happy is that Jen mentioned the fact that she has developed this community of sisters that truly supported one another. And we find that in terms of how women learn, this community support and this kind of of mentorship and a feeling that you have a community behind your back supporting you all the way is the best way that women learn. And we continue to sponsor that in our program. And all our graduates come back to be teaching assistants for the next batch of scholars. And many of them actually are being promoted and they are hiring our graduates to the company that they are working with. So it's like a snowball. As we know, what we really believe in FTW is what they call the girl effect. I think the Nike Foundation coined that term, which talks about how women are the magic bullets of development. You help one woman, and you have helped a whole community of women. So empowered women empower other women, we like to say, and that's something we very much believe in FTW Foundation. This community spirit of paying it forward is very much alive in our program. And we love the fact that we are able to, in our small way, break stereotypes in the tech industry and continue to do so with the partners that we work with and that believe in what we are doing as well. So there are many ways to get involved with FTW. We are always looking for scholars. We have different tech programs that are being offered as scholarship right now with our partners. And anyone who wants to get involved in these different ways can please get in touch with us. We're very happy to collaborate. We also have won awards for what we are doing. One of our partners was Union Bank, and they gave us an award as a partnership appreciation for the training that we gave for 38 of their budding data scientists. These are some of the companies that have hired from us, so a very impressive range, and many of them have become long-term partners that continue to come back and work with us. This is me and my co-founders. As you know, Michelle is going to be speaking next about her work with Analytics Association of the Philippines, but she also is very much inspired by the work that we're doing in terms of upskilling women into this promising field. If any of you would like to get in touch or have a copy of this deck, please contact me at kara@ftwfoundation.org or check out our website, www.ftwfoundation.org, and join us in this very important journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Miss Carol Wilson, co-founder and executive director of For the Women Foundation. Indeed, that was very inspiring and empowering. And I really like what you said, the girl effect and women as magic bullets of development. That was very inspiring indeed. Our last and definitely not the least speaker is from the Analytics Association of the Philippines. She is none other than Miss Michelle Alarcon, and she is an analytics practitioner since 1999. So that would be about over 25 years. And Michelle founded the analytics consulting firm ZLift Solutions in 2013 to enable organizations on analytics, starting with a roadmap up to implementation and enablement. Ms. Michelle organized the R Users Group of the Philippines also in the same year. And this is a tech community that promotes awareness and use of open source programming, which they call language R, among analytics practitioners. And they continue to meet every month up to this day. Ms. Michelle had always been an advocate of analytics for the masses. And in 2017, she joined the Analytics Association of the Philippines, or AAP, as Board of Trustees to help develop the ecosystem to upskill the country on analytics. Ms. Michelle graduated with a degree in statistics from the University of the Philippines and currently teaching at the Professional Master in Data Science and Analytics program of her alma mater. Ms. Michelle is also co-founder and head of learning at For the Women Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing free training on data science to underprivileged women. To present her topic on smarter organizations through data science and analytics, friends, colleagues, and partners, I now give you Ms. Michelle S. Alarcon, member, Board of Trustees, Analytics Association of the Philippines. Ms. Michelle, good afternoon and welcome to this event.
Hello, hi everyone. Good afternoon. Very privileged and very happy to be here celebrating with all of us International Women's History Month. Okay, so let me just share my screen and let me know if I'm good to go. All right. Hello, Sparky people saying hi. Very, some names very familiar. Those who are already in the data science and analytics industry. So again, thank you everyone for sharing your time with me today. And I would like to, I have a broad range of topics that I can discuss with you, all about women, all about women leadership, working with the industry for the past, how many years already, and trying to build this ecosystem for data science and analytics practitioners and also those who are aspiring to get started in this career. And together with the Project Sparta team, we are putting this together, and they're really privileged to share my journey as well. And then, like the other two speakers before me, I would like to also emphasize that because our environment here in the country has provided us with equal opportunities, compared as well to, relatively speaking, compared to our neighboring countries. In Asia, we are. This is a really good environment, as I hope I can also show you, how it was, how it had been for myself. And let me start with that, which is my profile and my background. So how did I get into data science and analytics? I started, getting interested in STEM, and particularly in the maths and sciences. I was privileged enough to get into a science high school, and just showing you here some statistics, particularly for my batch, where there were more women out of the 300 graduates from the Manila Science High School, and I didn't really feel any kind of discrimination, or that there were less opportunities for us to pursue a science, a STEM track back in high school. And same, even the same when I was in college, and particularly with the statistics major, there were even more females in my batch who graduated. And I just noticed now that in the class I'm teaching at the professional masters in DSA, there's also more women, no? A bit more only, but still there were more women also getting interested in this particular field. And then the firm that was introduced now, together with, with all the ads that we had for DSA, ZLIF Solutions. This is a consulting firm that I founded, and didn't really have in mind that to be biased towards females, right? Towards women. It was really more of a providing equal opportunities to everyone who had the skills and the potential to build their careers in data science. And I just made a count this morning, and apparently there are more women who are part of my team, doing consultancy and providing consultancy services. And then, this tech community that was mentioned earlier, this is the R Users Group of the Philippines, which is also around 8 years old now. It's not necessarily just for data science practitioners, but being an open source programming language, it can be used for anything, for data engineering, for databases, and not just data science and statistical analysis. But of all the member base that we've had, I noticed that there's a good number, a good ratio of female members who got interested in this particular, acquiring this particular skill. But then, recently there was a sudden surge in attendance among our female members. So it is quite interesting. I bet that this is also has something to do with the hype, around data science and analytics, and how open source tools such as R give them that edge, and as well as that accessibility to practice and try this skill. No? So given this background, I would say, and then again, this is just my personal background, that growing up, starting from school, and then onto my professional career, there was a good balance of women among my peers, and also the leadership team. It didn't really stand out to be more male dominated than maybe what has been observed in other countries, right? But maybe it's also small trivia that um, my family, I have 5 sisters and no brothers, so 100% female there. And I can obviously say, just given my again my personal background, that having the support of women with you, learning with you, struggling and going through the hard challenges with you, that definitely helped in shaping, me as a leader, and also particularly in this field, in the technology field, which is perceived to be male dominated, and then in the niche, specialized field of data science and analytics. So after getting engaged into, with all these associations that were mentioned earlier, trying to pursue, trying to upskill, the Philippines, the whole country, in data science and analytics. We also have to take part in, however small we feel that we can contribute. I would like to also share with you how I started. Given this background, I also wanted to share with you how the journey had been, in terms of just starting small, with my firm in 2013, Zlip Solutions, with the mission to, in my own way, using my skill sets, how can I enable the industry, the private sector particularly, to realize, this potential in having data science and analytics, and deriving value out of the data they have, and using it for, the improvement of, services, to us as customers, as subscribers, and then for the public sector, to us as citizens, and it has so many applications. And I felt back then in 2013 there weren't really, any, if I remember correctly, firms or special companies or agencies that were already embarking on this, on this field. So from 2013 and up to now, so we'll be 8 years old, this year. So we have been working with enterprise organizations, from different industries, and where you can see later, I'll be talking a bit about, how that benefited them. But also in the same year, I felt that I had to also help with the supply side of things, right? How will we meet the demand eventually for data science and analytics skill sets, when there's not really that undergraduate study, particularly back then, right? In data science and analytics. So I was working with another, with someone who has started this user group with our users group, and he's working abroad now. But it's basically, the intention is to form a community, where there can be knowledge sharing and people mentoring, and helping each other learn a new skill, which is just this open source programming language. In this way, helping organize it, and then connecting people and getting them together. It's really, having that real, pulse, right, of where the market is at, and where else we would need to help bridge the gaps, right, between the supply and demand. Of course, it is very very small step when we were starting out, but we started with 9 people back in 2013, and now, at least in the website, you'll see we have over 1,000 members already, and we're still meeting every month, and still sharing knowledge, getting everyone involved in maybe mentoring sessions and all that. So that's still ongoing, just like what we started at Zlip. But it doesn't stop there, right? So like everything else, you wanted to evolve, and not just level up in terms of what you can offer to the community or to your clients, but it's really more of a finding that scale, so that you can reach more people, and make them also feel that there is something they can contribute, because obviously, we need more people to move things, right? Especially at the nationwide level. So in 2017, I was very fortunate to find like-minded leaders, and at the AAP, so that's Analytics Association of the Philippines. And just through an event, and I think some of you already know the backstory of AAP. It was an event that was supposed to discuss, what are the things that are being prepared or planned for when it comes to upskilling the workforce on data science and analytics. So remember, this was 2017, and there was basically nothing there, right? There's I won't mention, but some of the agencies that we were hoping would be working with the private sector and then the academe basically. We were all just wanting to get started, but someone really had to do it, and just lay out the foundation, and then go ahead and start. So the AP, and then I won't mention their names anymore, but please go to the website to know who we are. This is where I also found that this is another way for me to reach more people. And AAP, right now we're happy to share with you that we have more members who are interested to contribute and be part of something big that we are building, which is this ecosystem from academe, public sector, and the private sector, and other associations, to lay the foundation for upskilling everyone in data science and analytics. And Project Sparta, of course, is part of that initiative. And working as well with the PSA, Philippine Statistics Authority, just getting myself particularly involved in what's been happening at the nationwide level. So, and then moving towards the succeeding years, it just allowed me to network and be reconnected with some of my fellow alumni from UP School of Statistics. And I was looking at, again, that supply and demand, sort of finding that balance, or finding that how I can properly match them with each other, right? And the School of Statistics, with its alumni base, it's a rich source of potential employers, as well as getting them skilled or reskilled or upskilled in data science and analytics. And this is also our venue for encouraging more people to take up statistics as one of the foundational skills in data science and analytics. A bit still engaged with the Alumni Association, and now teaching at the School of Statistics as one of the representatives for the Alumni Association. And then 2020, just last year, is fortunate to have met Kara Wilson and started as head of learning and redesigning the curriculum for data science and analytics to have more employable graduates from the batch. And we are still continuing up to this day and looking for support, more help from everyone who are not just interested in having more skills in-house for their organizations and getting graduates from FEW, but also getting involved maybe as mentors, as instructors, and helping us out carry out more of these lectures, and carrying out the program, delivering the program for more people. Same way with Project Sparta. So myself is one of the mentors as well. Through these organizations, we would like to, there's that multiplier effect for upskilling, for lack of a better term. But I still want to continue to look for ways where I can reach more people, and not just advocate on the benefits of data science and analytics, but hoping that more people can start on this career path, because it is really something that we are still short, no? And in terms of the demand side of things, we also need more practitioners to be out there in the field and actually helping companies, big or small, in having these implemented for them. So I would say that being one of the leaders now in the industry, I would still say that one has to start small, and then reach out and find help to build for scale, because you can't do it alone. And this is what Kara just alluded to earlier, that as women, we really are, we thrive, and we also survive. And when we're working with like-minded people, men or women, but this is something that is part of us, right? And then stay ambitious for the country. If nothing is too small to contribute, it just really takes a lot of confidence, and then having more people to connect with you and reach out to you, and just providing that safe environment for us to trust each other and do things together. So I would say, again, given that background, it's not necessarily really specific things, just specific skill sets like these that are needed for data science and analytics. And I think you will already find it, especially if you're a Spartan, that this is not what at all what we advocate. There are so many other competencies that are needed for data science and analytics. That's why we would like to cast our net wider and make more people um, be aware, and also not be afraid to try, because there's something in it for everyone. Again, as I always say, there's no undergrad per se for pursuing a data science and analytics career. Maybe later on there will be, but like myself, started with a STEM background, and then a statistics major, and then my first job was actually as a programmer, and this is how I got to know more of the data engineering side of things. But then putting everything together, it's really looking at the pathways that you have for Project Sparta. For example, there's a bit of everything, right? You take the overview course. So it allows you to have a broader perspective of the practice itself, and then allowing you to choose the different, which pathways is best for you at first, just to get started. But nothing stopping you from pursuing other tracks as well, because there's really a lot of competencies to learn, which, at the end of the day, they will help you develop yourself, you become better, regardless of whatever other career that you will be pursuing. Okay, so those competencies, we need those to break this down, right? So this is my favorite slide that I always use for our clients when I want to start with what data science and analytics really is, and for executives and maybe everyone else, maybe to the layman even, right? When you talk about data science and analytics, it's really there's data in one side, and then there's this random process that's hard to explain, that's supposed to give impact or value to a business, to a nonprofit organization, or to maybe other things, right? That are needing some answers. So we need more people. That's why we have been advocating for people to take this up as a new skill, or maybe trying to update their skill sets on the latest trends and technologies when it comes to DSA, because this is really something that has to be more people have to be made aware of how this really works, so that it's not the expectation is realistic when it comes to the impact, and as well as the investment that's needed to make this happen, instead of just saying that, yeah, I have data, so I should be reaping the benefits of data science and analytics, right? So we need practitioners who can be trained to actually break this down for more companies and more organizations. And I bet you it's really very, very interesting and very fulfilling career. So just a quick snapshot. These are just some examples of the value that and the impact that um, we have given to our clients, to some of our clients, and these are really business questions. And this is also something that I like to not simplify, but in terms of expressing the a goal for an organization, it really has to start with just one question, right? So these are examples like working with the chief operations officer for logistics company, asking if will I meet my committed package deliveries to my customers today? And doing it the manual way, it's really obviously takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort. You may not get the right information, or the even eventually the insights could be really wrong, right? right? It depends on the information, how it's processed, and all that. So through data science and analytics, applying predictive models to look at possible delays that may happen for the day for that particular warehouse and so on. So that was how we were able to solve the problem, or provide an answer to this question. Then the other ones would be more around maybe the one on the bottom left would be finding the best spots or the best locations for new branches, for new stores and new branches, given a specific target demographic. So looking at possible data points that may be relevant for this particular study. It's not necessarily, maybe a computer scientist who will already know the answer, or maybe someone who hasn't worked on particularly visualization tools like these. They won't necessarily have the answer by themselves, but rather, it's working with your clients, understanding the domain, and appreciating, all the nitty gritty of the rules in handling the data, and knowing and understanding what the criteria really need to be, and defining that, what's the best location, what does best mean, and taking the pains in doing all those sort of due diligence, if you may. So having just described that, I hope it's clear that data science is really this very wide practice, and that's why a lot of competencies are necessary for us to learn and have it and implement it, right? And that doesn't make it, we don't want to paint it like an elitist skill, right, or a competency. Rather, it's open to everyone, right? We in the team who has delivered some of these projects answering these questions, they are not necessarily computer science graduates. They're statisticians, they're physicists, industrial engineers. So it's really what we call somewhat sare, no? Because they're the differences in these with these backgrounds being in one team. That's where you see different perspectives, and where you can have possibly 10 possible answers to one question, and that is what makes data science also a very exciting and interesting field. And you always learn along the way together with the clients that we're working with. So some of these other questions, I think we'll dive into because it's supposed to create an impact. The ones who are we are targeting particularly for these questions, to have answers to their questions, are those who can make the decisions, or who need to make the right decisions. And this is another competency altogether within data science, package the insights that you found, or everything that's the output of your sophisticated algorithms, or simple they may be as well in Excel. How do you translate that to actionable information for the executives, for the one who is supposed to create the impact in their organization? So that is totally a different skill set altogether. But working with these executives, that in itself is what makes this field exciting, right? You see almost immediately, right, the impact that you are creating yourself as a practitioner. So if we can do this, imagine for private sector, for everyone, for the academe, and for the public sector, this is what they need to have in their hands, right? The head of operations, the head of the nursing head in this healthcare facility, um, and then the chief finance officer, the chief marketing officer, and everyone else in an organization, right? Imagine that they have this power in their hands. So that is what we need. Why we need more practitioners to make this happen for them and for us eventually. So now I go back to my storyline earlier, no? So when I was telling you these stories, was it imaginable that the people I was talking about, I was referring to as the heads and executives, Did you imagine them that they're female? So that's a rhetorical question, but basically, my answer would be that most of them are. Most of the executives, they're visionaries that I've worked with, delivering those projects, and even those outside of those projects, right? Working with associations, like FTW and and in UP and all that. Um, we have to check our own biases as well if we are the ones creating this for ourselves, right? So all these stories that I mentioned to you, I know I've worked and know so many female chief information officers, heads of IT, who work with me, who work with my team, with no problems whatsoever. We've also worked with CEOs and chairmen of companies, of private companies, who are male and have no problem working with us with the again, I'd go back to I there should be no uh, gender bias in our circles, and if there were, even make it a non-issue essentially. So it's never been an issue. I always advise aspiring women leaders, and also women analysts, and in whatever their practices in, it is not, it shouldn't be. And if it becomes one, then that's not your problem anymore. So go beyond that issue, especially I always say, these times when everything is all virtual, you can be ageless, you can be faceless, right? So you have to go past that and make your case as, whatever you need to, whatever value or worth that you need to be communicating, that is what you need to focus on. So I would, just leave everyone with the following. So you've always heard of the saying that play by the rules and all that, and that's why our event is called Game Changers. In also using the terms that we sometimes work with in the data science and analytics space, I wouldn't say that's a rule. You should know the heuristics. I guess it's more of the usually observed patterns. If we say that it's a male dominated boardroom, that is not the rule. So this is what I mean. So just know that is what is expected or what is observed, but there should be no excuse for you to still excel, even if you feel that you're an outlier because you're a woman. And then from there, just like in analytics, when we do our models, you have new data points to consider, you have new variables, you have new features to consider, and you basically can rewrite and define the rules yourself. So that's all I wanted to share. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Miss Michelle Alarcon. That was indeed very inspiring. Thank you for sharing with us your journey. And I really like what you said, that we have to stay ambitious for the country, and there's nothing really too small to contribute. So I know everyone here in this platform, including our social media page in Facebook, that you are cheering for all our women speakers. Thank you so much. And please type in your questions. We'd love to hear them in the chat box. We will collate them at once, and let's give some little time for our speakers to breathe in a little before we proceed to the open forum. And indeed, these women all share one thing in common: their creativity, their passion, and their great ideas born from Filipino minds. And there's no doubt about that. So, speakers, kindly turn on your videos, please. Are we ready for the open forum? We have several questions here in the generated from the Facebook, from Sparta PH, and from this platform. And can we start? Okay, let me see. Our first question is for Miss Lisa. Miss Lisa, hi. Here's your question, ma'am. Um, Okay, she's congratulating you for having an amazing presentation showing the percentage of women in the industry. But the participant is also asking how easy or difficult is it for us to acquire updated data, and especially that this organization is on data science, and she's asking if it's because no one is conducting recent research, or does it take time to publish data, that is why we get a not so new ones. How do we overcome this challenge, ma'am?
Yes, unfortunately, sometimes, especially when we want to get updated data, and when they refer to women, sometimes we get difficulty in getting them because these are not available. Perhaps because some of the issues that we look at are not that interesting to others. For instance, when we in my organization at FMA, we're trying to get uh, data about online gender-based violence in the Philippines. When we started in 20 collecting data in 2013, we found there was none actually. There were information about physical violence against women, but when it comes to online gender-based violence, there were no data. So what we did was to be part of a group that was collecting data, mapping data, and that is how we started to have some knowledge about the trend in the Philippines. Sometimes you have to do it by yourself, and then given the amount of data scientists that we have right now, data analysts that we have, I'm sure that we can have more updated data in the future. It's difficult, and sometimes if yeah, for instance, of course, PSA does its data analysis, and it takes time as well because if you're collecting a large number of data, it would take time. So I know that Michelle here knows about it. So that's why we can't do that every year. But even if sometimes even if you have data collected every 5 years, they are still very relevant to the analysis that we do at present.
Do we have problems in terms of financing, ma'am, or funding the research for this?
For some, yes, maybe if these are data that are not readily available, and you would want to get more information for your analysis, then sometimes you have to fund them. And for us, especially in the civil society, that is a problem because that we are nonprofits. But hopefully but there are already, given these days now, there's a lot. I'm very hopeful because there are a lot of data nowadays that are abounding. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Miss Lisa, for that. Our next question is for Miss Michelle. Hi, ma'am. The question is, do you have partners involved in researching or in making local policies? Are there any specific LGUs that you have partnered um, with reference to policies? And she also mentioned that in their school, they have a BS data science.
Hmm, cool.
Michelle, go ahead.
All right, thank you for that question. That's like it's scripted, no? Because we actually have an a meetup, a focus group discussion tonight, and then one is also happening on Thursday night. So this is with the Industry Development Council in partnership with our other council at the AAP, which is called Policy Research and Insights. So we do partner with organizations, research agencies, as well as even private organizations when it comes to anything that's related to looking at the supply side of things, the demand side of things. We are supposed to be that conduit, no? We're supposed to have that. Aside from bridging each other, the connections to from public to private and to the academe, we are also a group among ourselves, the board of trustees, practitioners in the academe, private sector, and public sector. So we give our inputs to whatever possible policy we may be suggesting. So the one that is happening, in fact, tonight, I think one of our Sparta mentors as well, my kasama sa AAPC, Sherwin Palayo, is he's the one who's leading our project together with PBAD and PTEC and these organizations, and also involving research agencies who will help us sort of quantify the demand for data science and analytics, and then quantify also, parang in terms of supply, how can we match nga, how do we ensure that we have sustainable pipeline for these particular skill sets. Since you mentioned that you have an undergrad already in school, a BS, in your particular university, we are also exploring possible, maybe in the academic institutions, if maybe after K to 12, there will already be possible supply of entry-level data analysts. And again, this is where we need the inputs of those coming from the industry side of the ecosystem, right? If they have that particular need. So this is how we work now as at the AAP. We don't work in a silo. We really have to work with research agencies, data providers, academies, and of course the public sector as well. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Miss Michelle. But is our education system ready enough to teach our children the future skills?
What a hard to answer question. But of course, we each have our own experiences working with different organizations, government agencies, particularly on the education side of things, right? But again, like how we started at the AAP, we just need to know where everyone is, basically, and then whatever the gaps may be and how we can contribute to addressing that gap, we will do that, right? So particularly working with, like the Sparta project was made possible with the OST, right? With the AP, with a course bank. If it doesn't take one agency, educational institution to work with, then we take 10. I mean, it shouldn't be a problem, right? There should be no shortage if, there are more people who are willing to help anyway.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Michelle. And really, similarly, I'd like to ask Miss Cara. There are several challenges, major challenges that women are facing in the STEM fields. In fact, all of you presented some statistics that women leave the data science and the industry. For you, ma'am, how can we help address these barriers and challenges, and how can we encourage our children to go further into the STEM and stay in the STEM fields?
Well, I think that the one way that we found works a lot with our groups, and I noticed that, is just if you have this opportunity, don't forget to pay it forward. Be an example. Be a mentor. There's no excuse for doing nothing. There's a lot of opportunities that you can speak to your former high school, or as a woman who's had success in this field, do what you can, I think, to try and be an example. And even just standing in front of these young girls and telling them, I did it, you can do it too. That's the first obstacle, I think, because sometimes with us women, the obstacles are really just in our head, right? So if from a very young age you're told those obstacles don't have to exist, then maybe you'll just be bolder. So I think just trying to find out from your own community what you can do to be an example to other young women, and reach out and do that. I think that will already create a snowball effect.
That was right. And I was browsing through the FTW website, and I was really amazed that you have impacted so many lives in the women who have taken free courses given by FTW. And as a segue to that, let me go on to the next question, which is somewhat similar. And it said that given that the FTW program also provides opportunities for employment. This is for you, Miss Kara. Can you share something about their experiences during employment? As there is some research that shows almost 50% of the women in the STEM workforce leave their jobs, as I have mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I have read some of those statistics, and perhaps Miss Garcia would be more able to clarify. But I believe like the biggest drop off happens when a woman has to decide to spend how she will balance her family obligations, specifically children, and forming a family with working. So if perhaps there could be more emphasis on helping women when they are at that point, better childcare services, all the things, or in other countries, they spend a lot on making sure there is childcare in the workplace, even so that women do not have to feel that they have to make that choice. I think the biggest drop off in the workforce in the Philippines and many other countries as well is when a woman has to decide, do I have time to work? I have to now raise my family. That's my priority. So if there could be more policies from the private, and of course even more so from the public sector, that allows women to make that choice without having to give up the chance of working, and I think that that is all tied to childcare, then that I think would be very helpful. Do you agree, Eleanor? I think.
Yes, yes. In fact, there is this PIDS, Philippine Institute for Development Studies. They found out that women are more likely to participate in platform work than men, because it offers them economic opportunities while performing housework and care work. But on the other hand, this platform work is based on contracts with no guarantee of secure income flow and social protection, putting them at a more disadvantage.
Mm.
So my question is, does this existing platform work which women participate in exacerbate existing gender inequalities? Perhaps you can, may we know your answer to this, Miss Lisa?
Yes, thank you for the question. Yeah, that is one of the things that we looked into in one of our researches actually with other groups. And indeed, yeah, while there are many freelance jobs, sometimes they do not afford you with social benefits that are due you. So if you need to while in a say normal job, you would have your SSS, PhilHealth, etc. So in these jobs, you have to pay for them yourselves. It's voluntary on your part, and yeah, and the other thing that we have seen is that sometimes when there is too much competition for the same job, then the pay goes down. So what we're saying is that of course it helps that if you upskill, then you have more bargaining power also. And we are hoping that when for the same type of job that let's say individuals, especially women in the Philippines, perform, they should be paid the same amount for that women or other individuals in other countries, especially first world countries, are getting. So that is what we want to happen in the future.
Thank you, Miss Lisa. On a lighter note, we also receive questions and insights from our Sparta scholars. And I think this one is for Miss Michelle. This question is from Miss Raki Castro. And she said that she's a woman with a disability and working in an LGU in Laguna. And she said that she's a proud Spartan and a member of AAP. She also said that she's working at an e-governance data analytics framework as her MSIT thesis. So her question is, Ms. Michelle, what will be the metrics that she can use for this?
Oh wow, you're getting advisory over Facebook Live. I will
Can we
PM
charge her
you,
for
Rocky.
consulting services?
No, 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 that's fine. No, these questions are actually, I encourage them. It's just that maybe we can have a more detailed discussion later on because I want to know what particular questions, right, the business questions or goals that you want to solve for that study of yours. But happy to hear from a Spartan, from someone who's already a member of the AAP. But I promise you, if I won't answer you now, you will get help for with your study. That's also a very interesting one. And in terms of the partnership with LGUs, so aside from the LGUs that have been identified, that we will be working with under the Project Spart umbrella, we are definitely going to engage them through the AAP in our projects that we are lining up now. So we will be having an analytics summit scheduled to be around July, where we will also have very specific themes for before last year we had smart cities and where we have lined up three LGs particularly to be targeted, to benefit from those initiatives. So we will do similar things, but maybe we can discuss that offline if you have other ideas that we can maybe pick your brains on. Thank you for the question, Raki.
Thank you,
Can
Miss
I,
Michelle.
Eleanor, can I say something about it?
Sure, sure. Go ahead, Miss Lisa.
Yes, for Rocky, the one who posed the question, maybe you can take a look at one of the researches that we did. It's on what we did was the Open E-Governance Index, and we looked at this index in 5 countries in different continents. So we looked at niche e-government, e-participation channels, digital inclusions. We also included the use of ICTs by civil society and the open legal and policy ecosystem. So it's available online. Just look for Open E-Governance Index study.
Thank you, Miss Lisa. And what I would like to share with Miss Michelle is that I've been following the free webinars of AAP, and although I'm not into this field of DSA, it's very much pretty interesting for me to learn new things. And
All right.
related to the earlier question for Miss Michelle, pagsabayin na po natin ito, ma'am. We also have this question uh, from someone who has an interest in data and its impact. So he or she asks, what Sparta courses would you suggest to start this path? Is it
Mm.
data science and analytics?
Okay. Uh, I won't really discourage anyone from trying everything out. Right? What we don't want to happen is that you get traumatized and you feel that it is too hard for you, and then you stop and then quit and abandon the program just right out the bat. So I would say that the data associate track is really the entry level, that for you to try out. But that particular course in Sparta, which is the overview or getting grounded on analytics, which is anyway a mandatory first step for all Spartans, you should have a better understanding of where your profile fits best, among the different pathways. And these are self-paced learning materials, so you can always switch, and then you can also complete everything at the same time. Who knows? But definitely, you know yourself better, than anyone else. So just do an initial sort of self-assessment after you have watched and gone through the Getting Grounded course, which is the first one.
And should I say there's no gender or age limit for taking up
Of
DSA?
course, yeah. You didn't hear me say anything about it, right? Because it's not an issue at all. It's not an
Yes.
issue. Yeah.
Okay, moving forward, any one of you can answer this question generated from Facebook. Um, Aside from the analytics competencies, are there any other local standards or studies or references you can recommend? Yes, anyone? Okay, I repeat again the question. Aside from the, I think this is more for Michelle, aside from the analytics competencies, are there any other local standards or
All right.
studies or references that you can recommend or that our attendees here can
Mm,
look into?
okay. Uh, there's no scarcity in resources when it comes to analytics and data sciences. There's a lot. So that's that's the problem, right there. How do you actually uh, sort of get through all those materials, because there's a lot of good materials, there are a lot of free materials, there's also a lot that you have to pay for certification for. But what we are trying to do at the AAP is try to curate all those things, right? And it look for ways that we can localize that through the pathways. So that's where we will be inserting that and customizing that further. Outside of the Sparta courses and the pathways, we are also coming up with our own frameworks at the AAP. So just what I just showed you earlier, the data science and analytics competencies, that's actually from a project there, which is from APAC, a unit in APAC that has put that together, I think around 2017. And here at the AAP, we're trying to find ways to make that more customized to the Philippine setting, right? Particularly the types of programs that we have available from the academic institutions, which are not necessarily the same that they have in the region. So how do we customize the professional maturity framework for analytics? So that is one framework. The other framework is for organizations. So this is analytical maturity for organizations. Again, that is also something that is like there's a global standard for leveling in terms of maturity for companies, but we are also customizing that for the Philippine setting. So given our own set of regulations, policies, and all that stuff. So I would say that it's always good to have a reference from the global setting, and then looking for ways to get engaged as well in these projects where you can be involved in giving your inputs and saying that, okay, this is how it can fit for me or for my company or my organization. So nothing is perfect and complete yet. That's one thing that I would have to say. But there's at least some of us are already working on it, and it's already in progress as we build new standards and new policies and frameworks for data science and analytics.
Are there indigenous frameworks on DSA here in the Philippines, or we just customize them, Miss Michelle? And
Right
are
now,
these
yeah,
frameworks evolving?
they're definitely evolving. We are also seeing, although not just very recently, we're also seeing that they somehow have to work with or be merged with, or be defined together with, alongside with the world of AI, for example. So it has to evolve because technologies are evolving that way. Just like how our requirements as citizens, as customers, as subscribers are also evolving. Right? So it like any technology naman, diba? So that's why one of the competencies that we also teach at FTW, right, for the Women Foundation, is that the program, for example, no, sorry, I switch hats now. But the program, for example, is a 14-week program, but that we are not saying that that is all you have to learn, for data science analytics. What you really need to learn is how to learn quickly, how to be flexible and adjust, to whatever technology, may be there in your new company, in your new school, or whatever, wherever data science and analytics careers may take you, because for sure, change is constant. It's always going to happen in the technology space.
I can I add something, Eleanor?
Sure, sure, Miss Kara.
I was just speaking this morning to a potential employer who was a CTO for a new fintech company that's being set up here in the Philippines, and the CTO was in London, and he said that he was so impressed by some of his hires in the Philippines that that's exactly what they were doing. Like he said, "Sir, I don't know Python, but give me 2 weeks," and then he said, "Okay, now I'm learning Python, and I'm going to start coding and build this for you as I learn." So I think that this is just a it's a field that changes so quickly, and so that's what we keep telling our graduates, that you cannot know it all after 14 weeks, but what you have that is the ace up your sleeve is that you're a
Right.
lifelong learner and you're willing to learn. So if your boss says, do you know this, you can say, no, I don't, but can you give me till Thursday morning at 9 o'clock and I'll have an answer for you. And so how will your boss not be happy with someone like that? So I think that the attitude is really important. At least that's what we've found in our group of incredible graduates.
Yes, that's very correct. And it is the grit, as you said. And we should keep on evolving also and keeping up with the technology. And actually, we are pouring with a lot of interesting questions, but this one I should say is very pretty much interesting. This is for all the panelists, I guess. What would you advise to a middle-aged woman who wants to shift career in analytics, competing with new goals? Are there analytics jobs for this age group?
Well, FTW has had graduates. I would say at least 10% of our each of our classes are above 37 years old, and they're all doing very well. So some of them, in fact, took time off because they had to take care of children and they didn't know how to come back. So I think taking that first step and trying to upskill yourself is the most important thing to do.
So it's not really too late for us middle-aged women to learn new things, right? Okay, moving forward, this is also for Miss Cara. Miss Cara, how this is generated from our FB Live. This is from Miss Crisel Mansenido. She asks, how does she look for a mentor with data science to keep her motivated, especially when she's just starting out? Would you recommend a specific community?
Well, she could definitely try to get a scholarship with FTW, and then for sure you'll get mentors, and not only a mentor assigned to you, but you have 100 sister mentors that are already graduates before that. But as you mentioned earlier, there are also other organizations. There's Women Who Code, there's She Loves Data, there's so many different, I think nowadays during the pandemic, the dearth of webinars about mentoring, about all this has been out there. So I know it's not easy to do, but I don't know if this is if you've all felt this is true, but one of the easiest places to connect with people I find is LinkedIn. I mean, you find someone, you follow them, you make a comment, and for all you know, you start chatting, and you never know how you. I think that you have to be a little bit bolder in how you network and be targeted in how you network. So there are many online tools that are available to us today. Uh, some of the organizations that we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of communities springing up, I think. I don't know if
Yes.
Michelle and Lisa agree.
Yes, that's very correct. We just have to be more persevering and explorative and more open, especially now we are transitioning uh, into the digital world. And is it okay that we ask one last question? This is for the interest of time. I think this is for Miss Michelle. In order to be employable as a data scientist, what are the requirements aside from having certifications?
I I don't think that's required. Certification, and then some people also have that misconception that you need a doctorate degree to be a data scientist, right? I would say just as what we have just mentioned earlier, and I think everyone here also agrees that being a lifelong learner, if you feel that you're just switching to this career, and you're already at the age where you feel that it's not anymore possible. So maybe if you're middle aged, and this and you have no certification, I don't see how that should stop you. Particularly for the consulting industry, I would say that what really counts is the consultative skill, which is more on the domain specific side of things. So you can start out as a business analyst, trying to understand more or have an appreciation of the business drivers of an organization. If you've had experience working with maybe a telco or a logistics company and you're not in the data science and analytics field, but you know the ins and outs and intricacies of this particular business, how it works and all that, then you know you can start out as a business analyst or functional analyst. In fact, there's that pathway as well, diba, in Sparta. What else? If you are an Excel expert or what they call an Excel ninja, right? And you feel that that is not you know a skill that a data scientist needs to have. You don't really have a certification to be really very good in Excel, right? But ang dami mong pwedeng pasukan just having that skill with you, because you know how to look at data, how to you know how to be meticulous in handling it, and how to create you know small pivot tables or charts. It I think everyone these days is an Excel user, right, or spreadsheet user. So there is a place for you in the data world in general. So again, conception, I just to have an actual job in this career, not in this profession.
Thank you, Miss Michelle. But although that was the last question, I said I'd like to ask the final question. And for all of you, our women speakers, and in just a second or a minute, would you answer this? That if you have the power and resources to eradicate any world problem or in the Philippines, using your expertise and your experience as a data scientist, which one would you solve? Let's start with Miss Kara.
Ooh, that's a difficult question to solve. Uh, hmm.
Sorry about that.
All the money in the world. I think looking because we have such a young population, and I think classrooms are just so crowded. I think looking to make sure that the ratio of teacher to students in the classroom was improved, maybe having more teachers, and also revamping uh, the whole early education system to make sure that it doesn't kill curiosity. I think.
Yes, Miss Lisa.
I can actually think of a lot of things that I would like to solve, like, issues about disinformation, those things. Um, maybe how to eradicate gender equality.
That would be a long way, ma'am. And but we hope we attain that goal sooner or later. Thank you, Miss Lisa and Miss Kara. Miss Michelle.
Uh, I think it's you know how data science plays a role in world problems and solving world problems. That definitely is a yes in terms of does it have a role in solving bigger world problems, not just business problems. But the thing is, it's really a matter of recognizing first among us practitioners, at least data scientists, to know that although that is possible with the techniques and technologies, we have to recognize that hindi naman natin hindi tayo perfecto at kaya natin lahat, ano. It takes maybe it takes a village to solve even one common problem that we have, which particularly these days is related to COVID-19, right? We know that there's a lot of practitioners already out there in scientists and everyone, but it's beneath us, right? So all we can do within our powers, at least here in the Philippines, is how do we help spread the right information, I guess. That is one. How do we help maybe even provide the right data or the right methods to collect data, like contact tracing. Has anyone analyzed that, right? or maybe even consolidate that for for someone to actually do a proper analysis. But so there's so many things, right? But just like what I mentioned earlier, what is that big question that we want solved, and then we organize ourselves accordingly. Like this is my specialty. I am a epidemiologist, and this is how I can help. This is I work with the LGUs, and this is how I can help. So the data scientist can only work on the data itself, but we have to work with experts in subject matter, experts themselves, domain experts, and all that, to realize that it is it's something that we also have to recognize that it is a team that eventually the countries should be a big team, no? Working together to solve these world problems that's also upon us. And of course, being leaders, I don't want to call ourselves as women leaders anymore. We should be called leaders, plain and simple, right? Leaders such as ourselves, we are here. We should be we should just hope to inspire more leaders to step up, and women along with them, of course. Tayo yan, magkakasama-sama tayo. So I guess that is just my final. It's not how I would solve it, but how I would advise to approach the problem.
Thank you so much, Miss Michelle. We could listen to all of you all day, but in the interest of time, we are stopping here for our open forum. And let me thank you once again for celebrating with us today. Let us continue to work together to ensure that women's leadership or the leadership remains a key ingredient for recovery by making it a reality in our operations and our workplace. To all the women, let us continue to march forward and wave the colors purple, green, and white for gender equality until the day women are duly recognized for their tremendous strength and valor against the crimes targeted at their rights and entire being. Let everything we do inspire others to a future without gender-based discrimination. Let me also leave you by quoting the seventh Secretary General of the United Nations and 2001 Nobel Peace Prize winner, Mr. Kofi Annan. There is no tool for development more effective than the empowerment of women. Thank you to our resource experts. Back to you, RV.
Thank you very much, Miss Santos, and our speakers, Miss Liza, Miss Cara, and Miss Michelle, for your very insightful discussions. We definitely learned a lot from the conversations that you have shared with us today, and it is really an enlightening experience. And as a sign of our sincerest gratitude and appreciation for the time that you have committed in this event, we present you with the certificates and tokens. So from the Development Academy of the Philippines, let me just read this, presents this certificate of appreciation to our speakers for sharing their time and expertise as resource speakers with the topic during the conduct of SPARTA Mini Conference on Game Changers in Data Science and Analytics, Women Leaders for a Smarter Philippines, held on March 23, 2021 via Google Meet Communication Service. Signed, Alan Escajes, PhD, Vice President and Sparta Project Lead. Once again, thank you. And now to formally end this mini conference, may we call on Ms. Rhea L. Heraldino, Sparta Project Manager, for the closing remarks. Thank you. We will send out the rest of the tokens, Ms. Cara Wilson. Thank you po.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank our speakers for giving us great insights on the state of women in technology. I also extend my gratitude to our partners who have made an effort to join us here today, as well as the participants for sharing this moment with us. So let me start by saying that I am extremely grateful for this opportunity because this has taught us so much about women's position in our society. Earlier, we've learned from Ms. Lisa's speech the gender makeup in technology and ESA workforce. We have Ms. Cara Wilson's talk on equal access on DSA opportunities and Ms. Michelle Alarcon's idea of smarter organizations backed by data science and analytics. The panel discussion, where our speakers tackle the questions raised by our participants, proved to be very insightful as well. But aside from these discussions, what also struck me was President Coronan's line when he said that ang mga kababaihan ang isa sa mga pag-asa ng bayan. This concept is very much alive and relevant considering the number of women who are actively participating in the betterment of our nation. In fact, a woman dominating is no longer rare or unheard of. We are constantly challenging norms, breaking barriers, and forging new paths because our abilities surpass what society has initially imposed on us. So we are therefore movers, shakers, and game changers that ignite the way towards better transformation. So we have the power to make significant changes in our society, and all of us here, all attendees, including our speakers, are testaments to this. And this is also the reason why we have conducted this event. Not only because Women's Month is celebrated during March of every year, but more so because we want to encourage women to stand up and have their voices and ideas be heard. And I'm also proud to say that nearly half of Project Sparta's learners are women, and we are hoping that this number continues to grow. So with these, I encourage all of us to heed the call towards an inclusive society that respects and empowers everyone. Let us continue to take a stand, close gaps, hurdle obstacles, and have our voices be heard. Because a smarter Philippines, a better world, and a brighter future will not be possible without our collective efforts. So muli po, maraming salamat at magandang hapon sa inyo na.
Thank you, Ms. Heraldino. What you have said about working together is very relevant, and it speaks a lot about our combined efforts in making positive changes in our society. Today's event gave us the opportunity to learn about the state of women in technology. We hope that the insights that we have gained from this mini conference help us in creating a community that respects and empowers all of its members. Before we end this event, we ask everyone to accomplish the evaluation form. The link of the form will be sent in the chat for both Google Meet attendees and for our audience watching via Facebook Live. We are also reminding everyone that certificates will only be given to those who will successfully accomplish the evaluation form. Make sure to input your full name and email address. Also, Project Sparta is still accepting scholarship applications to join the 24,700 learners and earn free data science and analytics certificate to upskill yourselves. Please feel free to reach us through our email at sparta@dap.edu.ph, Facebook page at Project Sparta PH, and online community at Community Sparta PH for any questions regarding the scholarship. Before we leave, let us open our cameras for a quick photo sharing, and let us put forward our best smiles. Thank you.
Jessica, can you give them the cue, please, on the count of three?
On the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Another one, please.
1, 2, 3. Okay na po.
Thank you, everyone. This is the SPARTA Mini Conference, Game Changers in Data Science and Analytics, Women Leaders for Smarter Philippines. Thank you, and we hope to see you in our future events.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Cara, Miss Michelle, Miss Lisa.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you po, Miss Ellie, Michelle, Miss Lisa, Miss Cara.